Alright, what's up guys? This is a different kind of setup for this video because I'm going to be showing you guys all the camera gear that I use to film every single one of my music videos, and I also use the same gear to film my tutorials if you were interested. But I'm shooting this on my iPhone right now, so I hope the quality isn't that bad. I know the audio isn't going to be the greatest, but I'm going to do my best to figure it out for you guys. But this is all my gear sitting right beside me here. We're going to start off with the camera. I shoot everything on the Sony A7siii, which is a couple years old now, but I bought it as soon as it came out. I had the Sony A7siii, which is a great camera, but that was 8-bit color, and when they upgraded to 10-bit color, I know I had to get it. Nowadays, I wouldn't recommend going for this camera. Personally, I would get the FX3, which is very similar to this. There are only like a few differences, and the main difference that bothers me the most that I didn't know about, and there's nothing online telling anybody about it, but just so you guys don't get messed up like I did, on this camera, if you're shooting really wide, like on a 12mm lens, and you shoot 60 frames per second, it's gonna crop in the sensor, and it's gonna make that 12mm lens look more like 20, which isn't the greatest, but on the FX3, it doesn't do that. So if you wanna keep your wide shots wide, you're gonna have to shoot 24 FPS on this camera, which is really annoying for the style that I like to do of speed ramping. So nowadays, I'd recommend getting an FX3, but I really don't want to spend $5,000 on another camera when I have this one that works fine. So maybe when the FX4 comes out, I'll get that, or that makes no sense. Maybe when the next FX3 comes out, I'll get that. But from now, I have this camera, which is my baby. It's great. It has the flip out screen. I'm sure you guys know what an A7S III is. The lens I have on it right now is a Gmaster 24mm 1.4. And this is the first lens that I actually bought for this camera. I love it because 24mm is just so nice. It's the perfect go-to. For the longest time, this was the only lens that I used on this camera. And it's a 1.4. I'm not too sure if you guys don't know what aperture is, that's kind of like the amount of light that it lets into the lens. So the lower the aperture means the blurrier the background is going to be when you're focused on somebody. So if I come like really close here, the background is going to get blurry, and that is pretty much like your aperture. So having a lower aperture like 1.4 means that you're going to get those really blurry backgrounds. And then on the camera as well, I have these things that you can screw on and off. I have two of them on here. This first one here is a Promist, which takes the highlights, takes like the tones and everything, and just kind of like makes them softer. I'm sure you guys have seen Promist before, like on lights at nighttime, it makes them like glow a bit. And then the other thing I have on it as well, this is an ND filter. It's like sunglasses for your camera. My Promist is a Tiffin 67mm black Promist. It's a 1/4. And then my ND filter is a K&F Concept Fader 67mm. This is from Amazon. I'd recommend getting one that's not a variable like mine is, where you can rotate it and change the amount that it tints it. And then I'd highly recommend getting the Tiffin Promists. Stay away from this one though. It's just the only one I have, and I really don't want to buy a new one. So while you're shooting during the daytime, if you want to keep your aperture low and get those blurry backgrounds like you would on this lens, you put an ND filter on to kind of tint it down so you don't have to lower your aperture or whatever. Anyways, moving on. Let's go over my VHS camera next. I haven't used this in any tutorials, but I use this in music videos that I do all the time. I got this off eBay for around $350, and I've shot a few music videos with it. I'll throw the most recent Gunner one up on the screen.
You say you tried for it. You say you need everything, but would you die?
I shot that video in full high night vision, which this thing shoots, and then I have a converter to bring it onto my computer. This exact model is the Sony Handycam Vision CCD TRV99 NTSC. Yeah, great camera. Hasn't broken on me yet. It takes like tapes and everything. And then next we have my gimbal, which is the Ronin S2. I had the light one from a couple years ago, and it was just too light for my camera. I throw this thing around everywhere. The battery life on it is great. To balance it, it's super easy. It's just a go-to for those steady shots, and it's so simple to use and set up. Like, I haven't charged this thing probably in 6 months, and it still isn't dead, and I've used it for like 10 shoots. So honestly, if you guys can afford this, it's super expensive. but I highly recommend it. And I didn't say this, but I'll have everything linked below for you guys to go check out. Moving on, next we have my my Shinobi Atomos monitor. I believe they make another one called the Ninja that's smaller, but this one is 7 inches. It's nice and big. It's great. It actually takes these batteries, which I think are DTAP, or they're called NWF970 batteries or whatever. They clip onto the back here, and this thing has a long charge. It's a great big screen to go on top of the Sony, and the setup that I have that goes with it is actually this magic rig cage, and I just screw the monitor on top, and I put my camera on the inside, and I just hold it from the grip like so when I'm filming a video. Just have an HDMI going from the monitor to my camera and the battery charging it. It's a nice big display to see everything on it. And the best part about it as well is if you know what color grade you're gonna go for on that video, you can actually put the color grade on the monitor and it will apply to your footage like you're editing it. And then you can tweak your settings in camera to make it look good for the LUT, if that makes sense. So crazy combination, highly recommend these two. Now moving on, this is what I keep my monitor in a toque. We can talk about some of my lenses. Actually, before we do that, let's talk about the Sony A7siii batteries. Now these are heaven sent, gift from God. This is coming from someone who shot on a Blackmagic camera where their batteries that look like this last about 15 minutes, where these ones last about like 2.5, 3 hours, depending on what kind of footage you're shooting. 4K, 1080p, 60 FPS, 24 FPS. These things are absolute tanks. I have about 6 of them now, and you can get it on Amazon. You can get like a 3-pack for $80 with a charge that charges all 3. Highly recommend getting these batteries. Having extras is so great. And that's another thing that just makes this camera so incredible is the batteries are small, they're portable, they charge fast, and they last forever. Now let's talk about some of the lenses that I have here. I have a couple lenses. I showed you guys my 24mm, but another one that I use a lot is my 12-24mm. It's the exact same brand, it's Gmaster. I like this lens so much because I love using autofocus on my Sony, especially when it's on the gimbal, and I can run around with this thing and get some crazy footage, especially on the 12mm. And the autofocus, like I was saying on it, is just incredible. It's not 1.4 like the other one, this one's actually 2.8, but it's still a great lens. It's more expensive than my camera actually was, but it's great. I use it all the time, especially when I'm filming like behind the scenes for Lyrical Limited and stuff like that. This is the go-to lens, it captures the most. I use it to vlog as well. It's just a necessity. If you're starting off, I wouldn't recommend going for that lens, but I just love the look of it so much. Moving on, we have probably the most versatile lens that I recommend everybody gets as a beginner. I wouldn't go ahead and get a 24 1.4 like I did. I would get something more versatile like this. This is a Tamron 28-75 2.8. It's way cheaper. It's a zoom lens as well, and it's just honestly go-to versatile. I shoot every concert on this lens. This is the only zoom lens I have that goes in that deep for concerts. I've used a 70-200 before for my last shoot that I did with Josiah, and I'm thinking about getting one of those now for concerts and for music videos just to have in the artillery. But you guys can rent those for about 40 bucks a day. So if you're looking to cop something, this lens is great. It's the Tamron 28-75. Now, next we have this spotlight here. I've used this in a few videos. I use this in the Gunner Empty video. I used this in the last Josiah video. It was $80 from Canadian Tire. It's dead right now, but it's just a spotlight. It's just to add a little bit of a theme to a video that can light up a whole space. Or if you're shooting at night and you have no idea where your gear is, this is just great to have. You can have someone pointing it around. The battery life on it is great as well. I didn't think I was gonna need this until I had it, and now I use it all the time. So it is great to have. Next we have Samsung T7 SSD. I shoot all my videos on SD cards. The SD card I use for my camera is a ProGrade 256 gigabyte SD card. It's very fast. I can shoot 4K 120 on it, 10-bit on my Sony. And then once I have my Mac, I put my SD card into my Mac, put all my footage on this, and then edit off of this bad boy. If you're editing off of the hard drive, you are insane. You need to get an SSD. I use Samsung T7 all the time. This is a 2 terabyte one. Look how small this is. It's USB-C, it's fast as hell. Amazing. Let's talk about the rest of the lenses I have here because I have 3 of them and these were all impulse buys. I regret 2 of them, but this one is a beauty and the picture on it is just fantastic. This is a SIRUI 23 1.2. I'm not sure why I thought I needed this when I had a 24 1.4. This is a 23 1.2, but it's cropped and it has like this weird circular thing around it, but just like the image that comes out of it is so nice. And this is like a film, this is meant for video, whereas those lenses are meant for like photography, video, all around. This just has such a nice picture to it, and I need to use it on more music videos. And then this is a kit lens for the Sony A7S3 that came with the A7S3 when I bought it. This is a piece of shit. I don't even have a thing on the back of it. Like, you could resell this for probably $70, but I don't even know. I don't even know why I have this anymore. And then last but not least, we have this Laowa 8mm wide or 9mm wide fisheye lens. I used this on a Cash Donnie video like last summer or 2 summers ago, and I haven't used it since. It's not bad, but focus on it's just a little bit weird. I bought my 12mm after this, and I've just been using that because it's so great. The autofocus, there's no autofocus on this, it's all manual, and the focus is weird half the time. So I don't use this anymore. And that's it for lenses. Now, tripods here. If you know me, you know I've been in a fuck situation with tripods. I don't use a tripod half the time, but now that I have one, I want to use one all the time. This is the worst tripod ever. I bought it as an impulse buy because I needed to buy a tripod for a video shoot that day. I was either gonna rent a tripod from a rental company for $100 or buy this one for $200. So I just bought it for $200, and the knobs and everything aren't great on it. It's a Manfrotto 290 Extra. I would just get another Manfrotto tripod. I've gone through a ton of like the cheap Amazon tripods, and don't get sucked into that where you just buy a tripod, it breaks, buy a cheap tripod, it breaks, buy a tripod, it breaks. You want to invest in a good one. I made that mistake for a long time, and this one isn't the greatest, but it hasn't broken yet. And let me just step behind the camera quick, sorry. Let's talk about the speaker. If you're shooting music videos, the speaker is essential to your production. This JBL Extreme 3 is the go-to, especially when I'm filming run and gun. I just wrap it around my shoulder, throw it on my back, have it on blast, and then I'm moving around with the camera shooting a music video, or you can give it to someone. And the great thing about it is, as well, if your batteries or your lights are low, you can open up this little tab here, and then inside of it, there is a USB and a USB-C port, and this thing works as a goddamn portable charger. So it's pretty incredible. This thing is nice. It's just a little bit big, so if you're traveling, I wouldn't recommend it. I had a Bose one before that was lost, but shooting around town, shooting around in your area, driving, this thing is great. It's nice and loud. Works as a portable charger as well. And that is pretty much all my gear. If you guys are wondering, what do you use for lights? I have 3 newer panel lights that I have in my setup to record videos. I'll take you guys over there now to show them to you. It's this panel light and this panel light. So I would take them down to go to music video shoots, but nowadays, if I'm going to shoot a video, I'm renting lights and I'm hiring a gaffer, which is someone who controls the lights. And I just tell them what I want the mood to be, and they will do that for me. So I use those every now and then, but I don't really use them that often. And that is all of my gear here, guys. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more videos just like this, leave a like and subscribe. I've been wanting to do this video for a while, but I just haven't thought about the right time to do it. And I was like, what video can I do today? And I just went ahead and did this. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.